The Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
It's the Full Melt Show.
Hump Day! Something's happened. Hold on, I say. Try this again. We're gonna start this right from scratch. We'll start from the beginning. From the top, everyone. Stand by. La la la, la da dee da. This is what happens in live radio. Nothing we can do about it except roll with the punches, and that's what we're doing. This is why we don't have a music contract on this show. And once again, Hump Day!
The Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
It's the Full Melt Show.
New at 6, Fremont County Commissioners decided to table their vote on a new marijuana ordinance this morning. We first told you about this 2 weeks ago as commissioners originally brought the idea of plant limits to the table. News 5's Lena Howling was there for that heated debate. Lena?
Well, it was standing room only in the commissioner's chamber today as dozens of marijuana supporters came to speak out against the ordinance. While they say today's version of the rules are a step in the right direction, many say there's still more work to be done.
I think that this is a great balance for a lot of people.
Nathan Robinson is a medical marijuana caregiver for 6 people, including himself.
This is definitely a positive thing, as long as it keeps going in a positive way. I mean, it could go reverse, but we're hoping it doesn't.
Growing his own marijuana, he says every summer he has upwards of 140 plants. But the county's proposed ordinance would limit that number to 99.
The 99 plant count, I mean, that's decent, but for a lot of people that use it as an edible or anything where they make it in their butters or anything, it takes a lot more.
It's basically like telling somebody that you're only going to get your prescription that you're allowed to get through Medicaid, only 60% of the year, and the rest of it you're going to have to pay out of pocket.
His patient, Scott Strong, has also spoken out against this for the past 2 meetings.
I have PTSD. I have arthritis in the lower third of my back. I'm a veteran, so I mean, there's a number of things that I use it for just on my day-to-day.
With that need, Strong is hoping commissioners will allow his caregiver to continue providing the correct dosage.
My only concern right now is with restricting the amount of plants that they're going to allow without any sort of way to allow people to get the medicine that they're prescribed.
Today, commissioners asked to go back to the drawing board for a 3rd time.
I think we all started thinking maybe we went too far the other direction, and now, instead of being too restrictive, we are being too permissive.
Commissioner Debbie Bell tells us she'd like to set the plant limit at 36 instead.
The Full Melt.
The Full Melt Show. A marijuana discussion about news, culture, politics, and lifestyle. FullMelt.com. Toll free. 844-420-TALK. 844-420-TALK.
Oh, the buttons have gone crazy on me today. That's what's happened. Pushing this, making that move. Oh, that's not making that move. That's making the other thing move. Oh, wait a minute. What's this one do? If I push that, it makes the wrong thing move. What's going on here? Who's been swapping out my buttons for other buttons? And what did you do with my old buttons? And faders. Oh, they've mixed them all up on me. It's got to be the cleaning crew. It has to be. Wait a minute. The cleaning crew is me. Why'd I do that to myself? I don't know. At first, it's the dirty buttons, and then when you clean the dirty buttons, they get all mixed around on you. What do you want? It's hump day. See, I like that. You can blame stuff at the beginning of the week on, well, what do you want? It's Monday, right? It's Monday. Hey, blaming it on Monday. And then when you get to hump day. Oh, what do you do? It's the middle of the week. You're caught in the trap of it all. That's hump day. It always happens on hump day. And then you get to the end of the week and you're like, well, it's Friday. You know, it's the end of the week. We're all sputtered out. There's always an excuse on almost every day, save Tuesday and Thursday. I don't know what you do if something happens on a Tuesday or a Thursday. What do you get to blame it on? That's what I want to know. Right in the middle of that piece there at the front, which was terrible audio. I thought I had terrible audio at my own thing yesterday. I think I'll get something off the internet today. No! NBC5 out there in Fresno must be cheap bastards because they won't even pay the extra half a cent for the entire run of that piece on their website to be in higher quality audio than what? 12K? I mean, you could have put dots and dashes with Morse code and it would have been better audio. We might have gotten it. We might have understood it better too. So, for the purpose of clarity's sake, let me just reiterate what's going on there because this was a story. It's what is this? What is it? I want to say it's not KTLA. It's K something. KKOC. K. What is it? Now I got to double check. It's KOAA. That's what it is. And they've got to be Channel 5 out of Fremont County in California. I'm not sure where Fremont County is with regards to known cities. See, people know where cities are, but they don't always know what county the city's in if it's another state. I'm just trying to see if I can glean anything from the text here really quick to see. Might be something else on the website here, which would also give me an indication. Yeah, not much. Well, they don't tell you much here at KOAA TV5, which is an NBC station. I got that from the big peacock logo. Trying to give you credit, KOAA. But you're not giving me much to go with. I guess I gave you credit, but I just can't figure out where your story's out of, where your Fremont. Let me just look it up now. I mean, I put the story on the air. I got to tell you, because I'm sure if I don't know, you might not know unless you're in Fremont County in California. Fremont County is, where is this? Colorado? Is that a Colorado story? Oh, see, there's Fremont County, Idaho. Well, let's just find out where KOAA is. See, now I'm all confused. KOAA, go. Yeah, okay, you can use my location. I don't give a rat's. This is Colorado. This is a Denver story. So Fremont County, I was mistaken that Fremont County was in California. It is clearly not. Well, I guess it's not clearly not. It's apparent clearly to me now that it's not. If it was clearly not in California, I guess it would have been apparent up front, right? So, back to the point, which was somewhere in the middle of that terrible audio in that story. The guy was like, oh, well, it could go bad for us, but we're hoping it doesn't. We're hoping it goes good. However they decide this ordinance in Fremont County. Now, a couple notes about that point. First off, the movement of any political organization is not based on hope. It's not. You've got to have hope in order to get it done. Hope is a fuel. It is not a promise. Hope is something you use as a resource when pondering and measuring your future. You have hope. You invest into hope. Churches often talk about hope. I did an entire eulogy about my grandfather, my grandmother. I did the eulogies at both of their funerals. About hope. Well, it didn't start with hope with that eulogy. It started with, I think I was painting a picture, using a euphemism or really an analogy. I was just painting a picture about who my grandmother was, because that's what you do in a eulogy. When you're speaking at somebody's funeral, especially your own relatives, especially your senior relatives, your most senior relatives, you You have to speak with clarity and reverence and dignity. And hopefully, if you want those words to be remembered, you have to say something that's going to have impact. And I'm just relating this to the term hope because the guy in this story used the word hope, and I'm trying to pin a story around hope. Hope is a really important thing. But like I said, it's not a promise. It is not insurance. It is only hope. So you could hope for things that were better to be, hoping for the future. See, you can't hope for the past, right? You can't hope that something changes in the past unless your hope is you're going to build a time machine. And then I would say that it's not hope that you're relying upon. It might be trying to change the world of physics or discover something, some part of physics that allows you to actually make that move. I don't think physics will let you make that move. At least not as we understand them. But you could hope, if that's what your purpose was, is to hope to go back to change something in the past. If I suppose if the window of opportunity is wide enough, then the hope gets bigger. Right? Back when they first declared cannabis was illegal, that it was prohibited on a federal level. See, it started with the states. Certain states started enacting cannabis prohibitions. It was mostly in the South because this was really about the control of people and money, and the South always wanted to do that as it related to colored people, as it related to then how they termed the African-American community in our country as colored people, the blacks. A lot of worse terms for them than that, they would say. Just terrible. It was this racism that they used to begin cannabis prohibition in anyways. Look, we can't, since we're not allowed to be racist, we lost the Civil War. And there's the Civil Rights Act that came up in the 50s, right? We can actually be sued for a violation of civil rights if we do that. So how else can we control this population? Well, they went after things that the population tended to delve in, that maybe some other parts of the population did not. It started in the 30s with cannabis. Now, my grandmother, I told people at the eulogy, had a pocket full of H's. She had help. You could come to my grandmother and find help. It may have been in a form you didn't expect, but you could always come to my grandmother and find help. And I gave a number of other examples of things that began with H that my grandmother's pocket was full of. She would reach into her pocket and pull something else out. That's how I told that story. That's how I related people to who my grandmother was, at least to me. But when you talk about hope in the cannabis movement, we're not talking about going back in the past. We're talking about changing our future from what it represents now, what it's been in the past. So you can only hope to change the future. But hope is not a promise. The best way to predict the future is indeed to create it. Or so said Abraham Lincoln. Go think about that for a minute.
You're getting the full melt.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. Petpain.com. CBD relief for your pet.
When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law
at RudoyLaw.com.
RudoyLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoyLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you.
What's up with these things, Victor?
We decided to give ourselves stickers for each feature we release.
We read about 10,000 suggestions a week to create features that, as traders, we'd want to use.
10,000 suggestions? Who reads all of those?
He does.
For all the confidence you need, TD Ameritrade, you got this.
We need coffee.
Got it right here.
Cups?
12-ounce, 8-ounce recyclable.
Creamers, sweeteners, stirrers, filters?
Creamers, sweeteners, stirrers, filters, K-Cups.
Hazelnut, French vanilla, French roast, dark, light, medium, bold, extra bold?
And decaf.
Why would you say that? Why would you say that? Why would you say that?
No reason.
Free shipping for awards members every day. Staples, make more happen.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio show.
Thomas says stay home, get away from me, saying I was bad for you, he got his way.
So how does a great fighter get to be great?
Making up stories.
That's what I want you to think about now. We were talking about hope during the break.
You were bad for me.
And that you can only hope for the future. I think if you're going to hope for the future, you're also going to have to understand that you've got something to hope for, right? How can you hope if you don't know what you're hoping for? And then you want to make sure that you turn that hope into something more realistic. Because hope by itself is powerless. Hope needs an ensemble in order to have any value. So how do you add value to an ensemble, add that value to hope? Well, you've got purpose, right? You've got a cause. It's all the same thing, just using two different descriptions of the same property. And then you've also determined a pathway to that place. Let's see if we can coalesce out of the vapor of human intelligence. See if we can coalesce something out of that makes sense to you, because I'm having a bit of a hard time describing this. Put it in the best terms that make sense to you. If your hope is that you are going to get a new car, right? And you don't have a new car, if you're going to put the hope to any purpose, you're going to have to, if you're going to use the hope in any way, if the hope has any value, because otherwise it's just empty hope, right? It's just a wish in a handbasket. Hope is kind of a wish. I hope this happens. But you're investing emotion into that empty space. It's not just words. It's emotion in hope, in a wish. You can wish for a new car, but it's an empty wish unless you put the wish to practical terms. So what's part of that ensemble, right? What makes up the rest of that orchestra that's going to sing the song that the orchestra has to sing in order to get to the thing that you wish for, the thing that you're hoping for? If it's a new car, for example, now you've got to determine what are the realistic ways you could achieve the new car. What's the barrier to getting a new car? Obviously, you're hoping for it. There are barriers in the way. What are the barriers? And how can you overcome them? Is there some wiggle space between them, or is there a missing barrier that you didn't understand or realize until you took a good look at it, that you might be able to go through that space in the blockade? And then the new car's right there. It's right beyond the barrier or barriers. How can you overcome? I'm making this analogy and talking about hope, and because people hope that things get better. People hope that they'll make more money at their job. People hope that their boss won't be a dick anymore. People hope that their rent will go down. That's an empty hope. Rents always go up. They will never, ever go down. A very limited circumstance for rents actually going down. I'm not going to get into that. Bad example. You can hope for a lot of things. But if you're going to hope for cannabis change, right? You can't just sit idly by on the sidelines and wait for that change in history. It does not change by itself. History gets changed by activity. It gets changed by action. History itself would be an empty timeline of just time. If everybody stopped all their activity, all of it, eating, existing, all that stuff, if all activity stopped, history would still march on. It would just be an empty record because there's nothing to record in that history. It's just an empty timeline. So if you look forward on that timeline into the future and apply hope, and then you go and use the hope and bring the ensemble around it, which is a pathway to achieve, then you just need to gather the things that are required, that are prerequisites of that pathway. You can't just sit by and hope that hope is going to come to you in the form of fruition. In the form of fruition of what? It would have to be the fruition of action. You have to take action. And sometimes with a big change, it can't be little action. You can make small change and just take small action, right? My car's dirty. I'm going to go wash it. Well, I don't have enough money to go down to the car wash. Or the car wash is too far away. Or there's a big it's a muddy, dirty road between here and the car wash. I'll just wash my car here. Yeah, you overcame. And you turned hope, I want a clean car, into reality. With a little bit of effort, I washed my car. But cannabis change is not a small change. You see, prohibition, this greed for money by the prohibitionists, this greed for opportunity that prohibition creates in the world of business, those are things that are valuable, have meaning to people that are currently profiting in those places. This is a capitalist country. People are going to profit off position. So if you're trying to get to the place where those people aren't profiting anymore because cannabis prohibition no longer exists, you can't just spend a little effort on it. And you can't hope that everybody else is going to get it done for you. They will fail you every time. Your neighbor's not going to wash your car because you hoped that you had a clean car and then found a pathway to it. My neighbor can do it. That is not a pathway that is viable, is it? Not unless your neighbor has some reason or need to do you a favor or spend time washing your car. The correct answer is spend some investment on yourself. If you're hoping your neighbor's going to wash your car, it's an empty dream. And it just takes a little bit of examination to understand that. And all I'm trying to light the screen for is the blind people who can't see that they can sit idly by. Because so many people, so many Americans believe what I am saying right now about cannabis. It's not activism. It's proaction. It's advocacy. And I'm not advocating that people use cannabis. I'm advocating for public policy to change so it's no longer a criminal one that caused prohibitionists to gain favor with their pocketbooks via money. That's the vessel. The money never lies. The money trail never lies. If you want the truth, you can always follow the money. It's a mantra I say nearly at least weekly on this program, sometimes daily. I think I might have said it yesterday. Follow the money if you want to know the truth. Why is cannabis illegal? You don't have to ask anybody. Just follow the money. It will tell you. It's a trail that you can't question. You can only follow. It's like tracking a deer in the woods once it's been shot. You can only follow the blood trail, right? You can just follow it. That's all you can do until you find the deer. Follow the money, and you will find your carcass. And the carcass in this case has a big sign on it that says prohibitionists and racists. That's what it is. And maybe racism doesn't play as big a role as it used to in the prohibition of cannabis. It certainly does play a role. Otherwise, there wouldn't be disparity between equal rates of use between blacks and whites, yet, an equal rate of use between blacks and whites or people of color and whites when it comes to drug use of any kind. Or drug abuse of any kind, if you want to call those what they are. There's drug use, there's drug abuse. There's you doing the drug, there's the drug doing you. You don't want to be on the side of the drug doing you. You want to be on the side if you're doing drugs at all, and I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying if this is your choice, if this is what you end up doing, you understand what you're dealing with, understand, accept the consequences, but the consequences shouldn't be because you're looking at this and because this is something you chose to do. It should not be that you get my bank account and you get all my worldly possessions and you get to destroy my family and incarcerate me at public expense. This is not a solution to this problem. If it was, we'd have all kinds of drug problems solved by now. The model for people is punishment. It's not rehabilitation. It's not change your life. It's not change the problem. It's punish the problem. The problem is you've got a drug addiction or some kind of drug problem that's causing some other problem in society that isn't just related to you, but to other people and businesses. And, there's some other damage going on here. You should be looking at changing what the problem is, not just trying to lock the problem up, because as soon as the problem gets unlocked, because you're going to pay for that lockup, it's not going to change when they get out. It's just going to get worse, a lot worse. And then you got reoffending people in higher sentences and back into this cycle of crap when you didn't solve the problem. You just put them through the paces of you're not solving the problem as a government. So if you're going to take hope and apply it to the timeline of the future, you've got to create that ensemble. It's the pathway to achieving the goal, which is what you're hoping for, what you're wishing for. You can't ask your neighbor to do it. You've got to do it yourself. You've got to take action yourself to get that car clean. In this case, if you want cannabis policy to change, if you want to stop seeing families broken over really what is a harmless substance. Oh, there's a tie-in, Steve. Don't say it's harmless. You can't paint that horse a different color. It's dangerous. They say that you could lose some IQ points if you're a kid and use cannabis. Well, you know what I got to say about all that? There's a correlation. There's no evidence. There is a correlation. They've never studied this correlation deep enough to understand if it's causal or not. In other words, to say that the cannabis use caused the lowering of IQ points. It might be the sampling that you took was too small. It might be that you didn't think of another thing that might have caused that IQ lowering within your sample group. There's a lot of stuff. You just can't label it what it is by sniffing it from one side. You can't pick it up and guess how much it's going to weigh. You want to put it on a scale. You want to know exactly how much it weighs. You can't estimate what color it is. You want to put it up to a color spectrum chart and determine by what the chart says what color it is. You can't just guess at these things, and you can't just say there's a correlation. Correlation is a loose tie. It's very weak evidence in the scientific world. It's just an indication that this could be possible. There's no nexus between cause and effect here. So take action in your space. Because the people at the front there in the county of, what was it? Fremont, in Colorado, there's something happening there where they're taking away rights by passing ordinances that are affecting people inside the state that did this first. Think ye not that this is over with in Colorado. It is not over with in Colorado. There will always be opposition to cannabis use. I mean, currently the big deal in Colorado is we lost the Cannabis Cup because we don't want people coming here for tourism as citizens in Denver because it disrupts our way of life. It really screws up the place, the whole city, because we're not really designed to. Wait a minute. You're going to whine about the population, the tourism caused by cannabis? Are you serious? You're kidding me that you're going to cry and whine about this. You got what you wished for. You said this is going to create jobs here, and it did. That this is going to create a population increase, and there's going to be taxes raised, and that happened. And now you want to kiss the rest of the country goodbye by saying, no, don't bring your big Cannabis Cup here. We don't have a venue big enough for you. Create one. Build a stadium, for crying out loud. We don't want public consumption. Well, then why don't you create some rules so that when people come to do tourism in your city, you've got a place for people to go and a venue for people to smoke in. Because expecting them to find their way around the state and as a tourist and not find a place to accommodate adult use, considering you're willing to sell them the cannabis? Isn't it a bit of a trap for tourists to say that you can come and buy your cannabis here, but now that you've got your cannabis, where do you consume it? You can't do it publicly. The place that you're staying at won't let you do it. Where are you going to go? There are no social clubs. It's considered public consumption. You can only really do it at your house. What are these tourists doing? As a tourist, when I come to Denver, Colorado, the king of weed in cities across this United States of ours, where am I expected to go to consume this without getting in trouble with your local police about something like public intoxication or public consumption or driving? Aren't you actually causing this problem rather than solving it? You see what I mean? About this problem hasn't gone away in Colorado. It's only begun. And it's part of something else that I want to make note of, at least during this segment. Once you've got rights, and they created new rights in Colorado that fought big, it took them a lot of work in Colorado to get this done. And they did it on the first pass. Didn't take them multiple tries. They did it first go round. And they did it respectfully. They figured out a way to glue people together to move a cause forward. People that wanted weed to be more free gave up some concessions for the people that wanted weed not to exist at all so that we could exist in this middle space of freedom. That's what happens. It's a political action. You've got to give and take till you get to common ground and settle on the common ground and call it progress. Because for both of you, it was pro and con. But it didn't happen without a lot of elbow grease. They hoped that things were different. They reached out for things to be different. They created the ensemble and sung the song. But now that the chorus is over with and the intermission is here, you want to kick everybody out of the theater because the concession stands are closed? You can't use the public facilities? No restrooms? You got to go outside and pee against the wall. Maybe you'll get arrested out there. What the hell are you doing? That's what I want to know. When you create rights, when you hope for the future, when you change your future, like Lincoln said, best way to predict the future is to create it. And you'll be 100% accurate. Create your future. You'll know it in advance. What a beautiful saying. What a motivational thing to say. What an awesome proverb. If you think about that, think the future and it will become your future. What you do with your life creates your future, and that takes daily action. So take action. Don't do it blindly. Don't do it with false hope. Reach into your pocket like my grandmother did. Pull out that H, that hope, and pull it forward by creating the ensemble and singing the song. But do it realistically, and you can't expect that that hope is going to achieve through the action of others. Rally people to your cause. Dig into what you're doing. Investigate. Educate yourself and therefore other people. And only then will you be successful in turning hope into your future by prospect. Back after the break with more cannabis news.
You're getting the full melt.
I've seen things no man should bear, and those that every man should dare. From the beaches of Normandy to the far reaches of the earth. In my life, I have lived millions of lives. I've outrun robots and danced with dinosaurs. I've faced the faces of fear and fortitude and witnessed great beauty in the making. I've kept the company of kings and queens, but I'm no royalty or saint. I've traveled, trekked, wandered, and roamed, only to find myself right where I belong.
Jeep. See your authorized Jeep retailer for details on how you can become a Jeep owner.
We asked people to tell us something that happened in their past and something that might happen in their future. The good things were put on yellow magnets and the bad ones on blue. The results show the past was a pretty even mix of good and bad, yet the future was almost all good things. Now that you've seen the results of this experiment, what does it mean to you?
We all want to think about positive stuff.
Realistically, there will be downtimes.
It's great to think optimistically, but let's plan for whatever the future might bring.
Prudential. Bring your challenges.
RootMetrics, in the nation's largest independent study, tested wireless performance across the country. Verizon won big with 153 state wins. AT&T got 38, Sprint got 2, and T-Mobile got 0. Verizon also won first in the U.S. for data, call, speed, and reliability. AT&T got text. Stuck on an average network? Join Verizon, and we'll cover your cost to switch.
Introducing Sacred Elements, a place for natural and alternative healing for the mind, body, and soul. Sacred Elements. It's one place, all solutions.
Registered, licensed, certified, ordained.
Sacred Elements.
Massage, hypnosis, Reiki.
Sacred Elements.
Raindrop, aroma and color therapy, body detox, ministry, life coaching, weight and nutrition counseling.
Sacred Elements. Next to the Sweet Leaf, 400 South Dorr Highway, Flint.
11 to 7 daily, closed Sunday.
Call 810-259-2570. Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience, bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Dorr Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571. It's the Full Melt Radio Show. You can find the Full Melt Show at thefullmelt.com Monday through Friday from 7 until 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Rocking your world with cannabis news, culture, entertainment, and lifestyle. Why is it just cannabis? It's not just cannabis. Hemp. Got to leave hemp in there, too. Did you see the big news that happened last week about hemp? The FDA grabbing control over the CBD molecule. FDA says, oh no, they sent out warning letters. Look, I know previously we let you slide under the radar with the CBD products, even though CBD comes mostly from cannabis, but it's in hemp. And even though hemp's illegal as well, because it's under the cannabis law, it's still controlled substance, but we're going to let you sell it because it's non-psychoactive. We'll go ahead and let you sell it as a food supplement. Then GW Pharmaceuticals comes along and introduces a clinical study after some research was done in Israel and some manufacturing was done in other countries because he couldn't do it here. Couldn't conduct that research here. FDA wouldn't let you have access to it, or at least not the FDA, but the DEA through the National Institute of Drug Abuse. They're the ones with the keys to that locker. Because the only way you can study it here is if you use cannabis from that locker. And they got the keys to it. And it's the drug abuse people who say, no, you can't get in there. So they did a study in another country so they can get around that. And then once they got enough evidence based on that study and that growing, because they had to grow this cannabis, they had to find a way to get something uniform. Once they got something uniform, they had to develop a manufacturing process, which they kind of had an idea about what to do. We already did that for them. They got this manufacturing process down pretty simply. Standard out-of-the-box scientific stuff, extraction. They do it for everything from perfumes to other things that make smells. Extraction. They extract caffeine from coffee beans and put it in your Mountain Dew. It's an extraction process. It happens all the time. In fact, the very thing that they suggest is maybe one of the cleanest and best ways to extract cannabis completely, most certainly, is with a process called supercritical carbon dioxide extraction. CO2, supercritical CO2, they call it. Because there's no way that CO2, it's already something you breathe out. Carbon dioxide, right? You breathe in the oxygen, you breathe out the carbon dioxide. The plants breathe in the carbon dioxide, breathe out oxygen. That's how the cycle happens. So it's not toxic. It's something that's already being breathed in and out by you and plants all the time anyways. If there's some residual left in there, it's not going to be A, noticeable, B, very much, and C, be hurtful, harmful, cause any problems. It's CO2. So they've used this technique, this process for decaffeinating coffee and selling you your Folgers. And then what do you do with the decaffeination? See, the stuff that comes out of the extractor, they're extracting using supercritical fluid extraction, supercritical CO2. There's great big versions of them that do this with coffee beans all the time and other stuff too. Cocoa beans, vanilla beans, all these extracts. Some of them extract a powder form. Some of them extract a more oily form that they then, water down with some alcohol and sell it to you in a vanilla bottle. They've known this process for a long time. I'm just trying to point out that it didn't cost them. They didn't have a big investment into this. Not that. So now that they started this clinical trial, because remember, this story is about CBD, and the FDA saying, oh, you can't do that no more. Going to have to yank back that thing about selling it as a food supplement, because now CBDs, anything containing that molecule, you can't not sell it as a food supplement because it no longer fits the definition of a food supplement. Because the moment that something that's currently a food supplement is now included as part of a clinical drugs trial, which GW Pharmaceuticals applied for now that they had the research necessary to support the study. So you couldn't do the research before because the marijuana was locked up by the U.S. government. They didn't do that in Israel. They let them grow it over there. They let them manufacture it. They let them study it. Did all that research in another country, and the other country made all those research dollars. All that money and development went over there. It didn't come over here. What are you doing, U.S. government? You're turning away other big business already over the idea that you don't want it to be even studied because, somebody studies it, they might find a use for it, and then we got to take it on Schedule 1, and then the cat's out of the bag. You let the genie out of the bottle. You know what happened another way. The genie got out of the bottle another way. There was a different hole. You expect he was going to come out the lamp hole. He came out a lid hole. There was a crack that developed in that lamp, and he came out another way. And you're not getting that giant big genie back in that little lamp. It ain't happening now. That took some magic to make happen. And we don't have that magic anymore. He's out of the bottle. Try and get him back in. Go ahead. I dare you. I'll come back 3 months from now, 3 years from now, 3 decades from now, see if you got that genie back in the bottle. You're not going to do it. It's like trying to push a waterfall up a hill. You can wish it all day. You just don't have a viable pathway to that hope. You can't wish things that are impossible to happen. You can dream about them. That's a whole different thing. CBD no longer legal now as a food supplement, virtually upending all the people who were selling CBD products across the board, save maybe the pet people, because they didn't talk about pets. This isn't being introduced as a pet study. They're not introducing this trial as a CBD molecule as a study in pets. Why can't you still sell it as a pet food supplement? Answer me that. I guess somebody probably does have an answer somewhere. I just haven't discovered it yet. So that's a big development in the CBD world. They're already sending out letters warning people don't sell those CBDs as food products because we're going to come in and take your stuff. See, they're not going to prosecute you under drug law anymore. That's no longer the threat. The new threat is we'll still raid you. We'll still break down the doors. We'll still come in with a SWAT team, but we're taking away your CBD products and we're going to close you down. We're going to make it so that you can't do this anymore. What do we come to? These CBD products, we know. We already know. We don't need GW Pharmaceuticals to come along and institute a drug trial about whether or not CBD is effective at controlling seizures. We already have that study back through our own work and through individual state efforts to allow children to stop having seizures because they had access to CBD and a few of the other cannabinoids on the profile that prevent their seizures nearly 100% of the time in many cases. At least mitigate them to a livable circumstance. At least mitigate them so they're no longer a life-threatening circumstance, at least not to the degree that it is now. Because I think every seizure is potentially life-threatening. I mean, it doesn't even have to kill you by itself. You could seize up while you're doing something and fall off the side of something. I had a seizure. I was on a ladder. I fell and died. Doesn't happen when you're doing the CBD. Very few people, and a lot of the ones that don't have success, don't understand the medicine or how to use it, aren't being counseled properly on its use. This is why we have the FDA. This is why we have doctors and pharmacists and a whole system in place. The problem is cannabis doesn't fit that system. Cannabis is a unique plant. You can't isolate THC or CBD and expect that the song is going to be the same. It is not. And that symphony that's being played by the cannabis plant depends on the type of plant it is, indica leaning or sativa leaning. Is it all indica? Is it all sativa? Is it some hybrid variation? And then what's that variation? I can tell you just as many as there are as many varieties of cannabis and variations of it. They're infinite, more infinite than names in a Chinese phone book. So you can't isolate it and predict it. That's what the FDA wants you to do. They want you to isolate a compound and then predict about it. Say, this is what this does. Make a claim about this, and then test for that claim, and then test for safety, and then test for dosage, and then also test for side effect. Once it's passed all those hurdles, and you've conducted those tests in a human population that was double-blinded with placebo, in other words, the patient didn't know if he was getting a placebo or not, and the doctor, the person administering the medication in the study, didn't know whether it was a placebo or not. Those two people can't know. Then it's double-blinded. There can be no inference made. There can not be any accidental spillage of, subconscious cueing. Because it's all real. All that stuff's real. Oh, that's a whole placebo effect. It's all real. That's why they do the double-blind study. You can do that with almost every other plant substance. You cannot do it with cannabinoids. Number one, you're not going to get the reaction you thought you were going to get because of the whole rest of the chorus is missing. The winds are missing. The percussion is missing. The string section's missing. All you got is the stupid horns. That's it. And maybe the horn section only plays at one part of the song. It's not what you're looking for. You're looking for the song to be sung because it's that song that affects the issue at the other end. There's a whole science behind cannabis medicine, and it's in the natural plant realm. It's in the homeopathic realm. It's in the realm of holistic medicine, alternative medicine. It's in the realm of Chinese medicine. It's different from Western medicine. So it needs to be removed from the chart of Western medicine expectations because it's not going to fit them ever. And this is why the FDA doesn't like cannabis anyways. Like I said, you can't isolate and predict. It's always going to keep changing. And the thing you're looking for in the isolation is going to change because it's isolated. Big problems. So another quick note. I just got to tell you, maybe I'll have to do it after the break because we don't have time to do it. The break is rolling right up on us now. I mean, right as I'm speaking, the break is rolling up. So I'm going to give you, when we come back after the break, I'll give you an update on what's going on here. Some stuff happened today locally. Remember, I told you yesterday the township, I was told the day before. On Monday, I think I told you, I was woken up by a newspaper reporter who told me, hey, look, we want to get a quote from you about the new ordinance that changed on medical marijuana. What do you think about it? Well, I didn't know about it. And then so I went and found out about it. And now I've got some hope because I found a pathway to the future, and I'm going to apply action to it. I'll tell you what that action is coming up next.
You're getting the full melt.
Promotional consideration provided by NoSmell.com, pioneering the storage market for cannabis users. The NoSmell patented bag technology offers users 100% smell-proof detection from even the most sophisticated of noses. NoSmell.com, so nobody knows. When placing your order for a NoSmell bag, make sure to use discount code FULLMELT and take 10% off the entire order. Learn more about NoSmell technology at NoSmell.com.
Young students are our future. They're eager to learn, eager to succeed, eager to make the world a better place. And they want to make it to school safely. Share the road, take care when passing, and always leave 3 feet between you and people on bikes. Bikes are legal road vehicles. We're all drivers.
When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law
at RudoyLaw.com.
RudoyLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoyLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. Petpain.com. CBD relief for your pet.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571. 571. It's the Full Melt Radio Show. So the newspaper reporter contacted me on Monday, and they put the story out yesterday. Now, remember, yesterday we were consumed with the protests, Stop the Raids in Lansing. There's been a whole big thing about that. The story came out yesterday. It's already obsolete. I'll read you the story now. This is according to hometownlife.com. It's also printed in the South Lyon Herald. Dateline, South Lyon, yesterday. Yesterday. Medical marijuana ordinance change in Lyon. A new marijuana ordinance, a township ordinance, tries to tackle medical marijuana use, but at least one weed proponent says the new rule is pointless. Today, the township bans marijuana use, even among those people with medical marijuana cards that are issued by doctors to treat conditions. A new ordinance was approved recently by Lyon trustees, and it allows qualifying patients to use marijuana in their homes anywhere throughout the township. It takes effect the beginning of April. And that's the part that's now obsolete. You see, I took action. The real teeth of the new local rule says caregivers, which I can tell you I'm one of, are restricted to growing marijuana in structures that are situated on at least 1 acre lots in an effort to prevent growing operations or dispensaries from cropping up in subdivisions. You see, they want to call my caregiving activity, applying my knowledge and use, my expertise, because I do believe I'm a cannabis expert, in applying my expertise and knowledge to their medical situation and apply and registered to me through the state, through a whole program we created in a citizens initiative to allow for this protected use all throughout the state. It's a state law. The real teeth of the new local rule says caregivers are restricted to growing marijuana in structures that are situated on at least 1 acre lots in an effort to prevent growing operations or dispensaries from cropping up in subdivisions. They want to call a caregiver a dispensary or a business. That's what this is trying to do. The ordinance change was to bring local rules up to snuff with state laws. Well, I'd like to know how that is, because it's really against state law, this new ordinance change. See, state law says as a caregiver or a patient, it doesn't restrict use. It doesn't say you can't do this entire operation inside your home. In fact, it was likely encouraged. Michigan voters opened the door to medical marijuana for specific conditions, including cancer, AIDS, glaucoma, chronic pain, and severe nausea, and the passage of the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act in 2008. Stephen Green, a Lyon resident who's a medical marijuana patient, caregiver, and advocate, says the township ordinance is, quote, a problem, end quote, because the state law allows medical marijuana. The township ordinance is, quote, unenforceable, end quote. He said, quote, it's feel-good legislation. And that's exactly what I told that reporter. This is already settled law. It's settled at the Supreme Court level. That's what settled law means. It can't be adjusted any further. In the case of Tabrique versus Wyoming, in this state Supreme Court, it said that local townships and governments may not create laws that are more restrictive than the state law. The township's new ordinance mirrors the state law that says qualifying medical marijuana patients may have up to 2.5 ounces of marijuana and may grow up as many as 12 plants. Designated primary caregivers may have up to 5 patients, 2.5 ounces of marijuana for each patient, and up to 12 plants per patient. Now, what did I do that is no longer going to make this law go into effect after they printed it in the paper tomorrow? I think it goes into paper tomorrow. That's why they submitted it on Monday to the paper, and the paper was going to print it and said, oh, there's a news story. Let's call Green and say what he's got to say about this. They know what I do over here. They know I do this radio show. They know that I'm a caregiver. They know that I'm a patient. They know that I'm legit. They have more than amply smelled my ass about this. They've sniffed me out. They know what's going on. And they know that I'm not a criminal. And they know that I'm well-adjusted. They know that I'm educated. And they know that I will defend myself vigorously. Not with weapons, but with words. And so what I did was I took the law into my own hands because it's given me that ability. I filed notice with the township today after having talked with the enforcement person who said that I'm grandfathered in. You don't have to worry, Mr. Green said they were trying to appease me out of taking action because my action would favor patients and caregivers, which is what I've always done. I've never spoken a word ill of patients or caregivers. This law was created for them, and I will vigorously defend them, my patients and or others, and other caregivers. These people are putting their lives on the line, their freedom at risk, to provide medicine to a sick person. Let's understand this for what it is. You can call it all kinds of other stuff, and you can complain about all kinds of other stuff. That's what this is happening. That's what's going on here. I don't want to hear your whiny, mamby-pamby bullshit about anything else. That's what we're doing. Like it or not, that's at the core of what's happening. You can complain about the fringe, but it's not the fringe that's the core. It's not the fringe that's the point. It's not the fringe that's the mainstream of what's happening here. This is going on for patients, sick people. Stop picking on them and stop picking on their access. And that's what this law does. By trying to force me to be into a different zone, and they're saying I'm grandfather. Mr. Green, you don't got to worry about that. You're okay. Well, I got no guarantee, no written guarantee that that's not the case, that they won't change their mind at some point and say, you're in violation of our ordinance, clearly. I've got no document, no certificate to hang on the wall that says I am grandfathered. I've got no letter asserting from the township that I am not in violation of their ordinance. So if I have an encounter with police, they're going to charge me with violation of that ordinance. If it's right now it's mostly a zoning ordinance, but it's also an ordinance that controls use. So I first said that I'm willing to work with you on this. Look, this happened in the darkness of night. Nobody knew about it. Certainly, look, I'm a half mile from the township hall where they made these decisions during my show one night. This decision was made and voted into place at 7 o'clock in the evening, or between 7 and 8 o'clock in the evening, back on March 9th. Had no idea, because I wouldn't have done this show that day. I'd have went down to the township hall and opposed that in a public hearing. Never had the opportunity because I wasn't informed. I didn't know. And that's my next goal, is to get the township to make more public notice about, in a way that matters, not a way you got to guess at or come back after the fact. So what I did, because I only got a couple minutes to tell you, is I filed notice with the township first, after having discussed this with them and said, look, I want to work with you. So I'm going to a meeting. Of the, it's the Planning Commission. Planning Commission meets on the 28th at 7 o'clock. I'll be at that meeting to speak publicly about this issue. It'll only have 3 minutes, and nothing will apply during the rest of the meeting. They'll only hear from me. At the end of that meeting, I'm going to talk to a planning commissioner and give him my plight. Tell him my story, because it's a grounded one. It's a legitimate one. It's one they need to take into consideration because it's part of their job. Now, the other thing about this is that there was no problem or condition that existed on the ground level. There was no complaint or situation that necessitated this ordinance. This ordinance was coming down from the Township Association through McKenna and Associates, who are consultants of the township. Here, we think this is good legislation. You should do this. You got to fire those people. Because what they're suggesting you do is step into a place that's already settled law and that you'll get sued for. Because that's the third thing I'll do. So the first thing I'm going to do is work with them on modification. I'm going back to this board meeting on the 4th. So the 28th, they go to the township, planning commission meeting, talk to somebody then. Then I'm going to a board meeting on April 4, talk to somebody after that, and also speak publicly at the meeting, tell them my intentions. But after that, if I've filed notice with them that I'm going to take their issue to referendum. I'm going to give the people a chance to vote on this by collecting 888 signatures and thereby put this on pause. It can't go into effect until after my attempt at referendum fails or after it's voted down by the general public. And then, at the end of the day, I still might sue you in district court for relief.
The Full Melt Show is a production of TFM Media.